Hey guys, so today on this episode, we're going to be doing some actual work on the car, not just dinking around. We're going to try and figure out what's going on with the seats. I want to try and see if I can figure out how to mount them, whether I wanted to weld in some sort of tubing or whatever. We'll see, what obstacles I'm going to run into and whether it's going to work out. I don't know. Let's get to it. Okay, I'm back looking at this seat situation. And I think I'm gonna start cutting some square tubing up and start welding some stuff in. So I need to figure out exactly 100% where I want this seat to be, how I'm gonna mount it, and then I'm gonna start welding some stuff in. Okay, so I wanted to kind of show you guys what I got going on with this seat. So I've got this seat bracket, just a universal slider, and it fits on this seat like perfectly. It's the right size overall. I can't quite get out of the camera to look great, but you can see it's the right size. It fits perfectly on here, but the problem is there's no metal under here. It's really strange. The other guy that has a channel, he had his kit, sent to him like years ago, and his seat actually has metal that was fiberglassed in. And he was able to check with a magnet, and he could see it. And I went all over this thing with a magnet. There's no metal in that. It is all fiberglass. So that's sketchy to me. There is like a hole, like right here, like under both sides, that I can get under it. So what I'm kind of thinking about doing is putting steel plate underneath it that's going to run the whole length of the bottom of the seat. Maybe even do an angle so it actually gets this part too. And then bolting the sliders on there. But overall, I still don't like it. I think I'm going to do this, but I think it's going to be a temporary solution because that just seems sketchy to me. It just doesn't seem safe. So I think I'm going to use this as a mock-up for putting the seats in there. And that way I can at least have it positioned relatively close so that when I buy other seats, I don't have to do a whole bunch of cutting and welding. I may have to just change the brackets a little bit, and not so much like the actual floor that I'm welding in. So I'm gonna mess with this one just to get it in there, and then, let's see what we can do on the floor. So I put the seat back in there, and then I was kind of looking at it, and I was noticing how close the clearances are here. I almost need to put the dash back in to see clearances here, but then I was thinking, I need to put these pedals in too. So I pulled the pedals out, so here's what they look like. So they're supposed to bolt into these things here, but what I'm finding is even though this piece, it lines up, let's see if I can get this just right here. It lines up, but those holes aren't drilled. They're drilled, but they're not tapped. They're just holes. So that's freaking weird. So apparently I've got to go through and tap out the holes that I want to use. Seems really ridiculous because if you wanted to move, I don't know where I need the pedals at. So it's like if I drill these holes or I tap these holes and and it doesn't work, and it's like, oh, now I got to tap these ones. That seems like a really, I don't understand why they did that. That makes no sense. But I guess I'm going to try and tap a couple holes and then just kind of put these in there. Okay, I got one hole threaded. It's really being a pain in the ass because there's only so much room you can do, and I can't, obviously the tap is tapered. I really need more of a, like a thread chaser rather than a tap once I get so far, because I can't get threads cut all the way to the end because it bottoms itself out. It's working, but man, the bolt definitely, I tried ramming the bolt in there, and it definitely gets pretty tight towards the end, which I guess is fine. It's not going to come back out, but it's kind of shitty. The other thing I'm noticing is that I checked the brackets, and the spacing on some of these bolt holes isn't quite even. It's like these holes aren't perfectly, spaced out. These two are really dead nuts on, but these two right here, it's not quite. So I think what I might have to do is, it's possible I might have to hog these holes out here so I can actually get those things to fit. Man, that was a pain in the ass. So I drilled out like 6 of the holes, and then I tapped them. So it's really difficult to figure this out because there's no instructions yet, because the freaking company still hasn't gotten back to me on it. I don't know what the deal is, but I figured it out. So it's kind of strange, but this bracket has to go forward, and then that bracket has to actually go back, which was really confusing me. I wasn't sure how it was supposed to sit in there, because I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Why is this bar sitting crooked? But now it kind of makes sense. Like, it still looks slightly crooked, and I'm not entirely sure. I might have to, you know, maybe this side needs to go back 1. I don't know. It's still not quite straight with this one, but it gives me an idea. I might have to take that off and, you know, drill a couple and thread some stuff in there. But I kind of get the idea. The other thing that's kind of weird is there's a lot of play in these. Like, I don't know, like, clearly these things are supposed to take up some space, but it's like I'm missing one or something. Okay, so I did a little more thinking on it, and actually I unbolted this side over here, and then I try to see if it would line up those other holes like 1 step back, and it really doesn't. But then I started thinking about it, and I realized that, you know, honestly, the way this tunnel is, it actually kind of leans, like you're kind of sitting a little bit like this. You're not sitting 100% straight in this, the way the car is built. So honestly, having this side forward a little bit makes sense, because you're sitting a little bit that way. So like where I'm at right now, I just kind of got this one propped up. I think we're pretty close to where we need to be. I just want to lean this back a little bit. I think we'll be just about right. But I got to figure out, like, I think I need to put the dash in so I can make sure I have clearance over here. And then I need to see what kind of angle, or like how far up it actually needs to be off the floor to get the angle of the seat correct. Okay, so the dash is back in, and now what I'm kind of seeing that I didn't notice before is there's actually kind of a recessed section here for the seat to allow it to go forwards and backwards, which would be great if I didn't want it angled up, but I wanted it angled up. So then the problem is I don't really have enough room to do that, unless the seat can go lower, so I'm not sure. So with the dash in, you really get the feeling that, you know, it sits, you know, kind of angled. Like right now, I can touch the pedals. I could probably work on there a little bit. This clutch pedal is probably just a little bit too far away, but I'm kind of almost maxed out with the way the seat is right now. You can kind of see how close I am. I can come a little bit further forward, but then I wouldn't be able to angle it. And like, I really would like to angle it, but I'm wondering, and the other thing I'm kind of worried about is like the roof level here is kind of really close. I think what I'm going to do now, since trying to figure out exactly where the seat needs to be is going to be really tricky, I think my next step is, since I know approximately where the seat needs to be, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up some square tubing, and I'm going to start fitting that and putting it pretty close to where it needs to be, and then tack it in. Then I can put the seat back in and then just kind of see where it's at, because it's not 100% accurate right now since I'm sitting on a bucket, and it's kind of got me a little bit uneven. So I'm kind of curious what it's like when there's actually metal in there. So I think that's the next step. Okay, so under the car, you can kind of see what I got going on here. So, so this is the edge of the seat. I'm marking these, the very edges of those, and then I'm marking them back there so I can figure out exactly where this piece of metal needs to go. Okay, now it's tacked in, you can kind of see, you know, the spacing on this. It's sprung out a little bit. You kind of have to squeeze these together just a little bit so it has a tiny bit of tension on these so they don't pop out. And so that's on purpose, that it doesn't quite line up, because I know I need to squeeze it. So yeah, that's looking pretty good. Yeah, so I'm sitting in here now, and I wish I had a steering wheel right here, because that'd be great so I could actually figure out the spacing, but I don't have one. At the moment, this seat is about as far forward as I can go, because otherwise it's touching the console down here, and it's touching the body over here. So like as far as pedal placement, it's they're a little bit too far down. Like I really can't quite reach them. And honestly, I think that the pedals at the moment are probably, I don't think you can really get them any closer to the driver the way they're at. So, and the other thing I'm kind of at the moment is like, you can't quite see from this angle, but my head, the top of my head is 100%, it's over this windshield right now. And I really don't like that. So honestly, I think I'm gonna solid mount them to the floor. I don't think I'm gonna put them on these sliders, even though the sliders work. It's really shitty. Maybe, I don't know. It's really the way, I think it's the way the seat bottom is designed. It's just, the whole seat is just designed to sit up too high. So I think, you know, maybe if I switch to a different kind of seat later on, I might be able to get it to go down further. But at the moment, I think straight to the floor is gonna be the way to go. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this slider out, and then I'm gonna set the seat back down and see how that feels. Okay, so I got that seat sitting there, and I got an idea. I came up with a good way to check for height. I got a big ass level, so I can just use that to see how high my head is. So I'm gonna try this. Okay, that feels pretty good. Let's see here. Man, that is close, guys. But it clears. I don't know if you can see how close that is. I mean, we are talking, I could put my thumb underneath there, which is, it's not ideal, because that means if I have a helmet on, that's not gonna work out. Now if I angle it, let's see if I angle it a little bit. That was sketchy. That's better. I can get almost 3 fingers with it tilted back a little bit. That might be the way to go. So I might have to build something to allow the seat to sit a little bit angled. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with that yet, but that definitely is gonna be the way to go. But right now, I think, yeah, there's no way that slider would work, especially as close as I am right now. Like if it was just something, a street car, and I like just didn't care, maybe, but considering I'm gonna race this, yeah, I'd like it to be safe. So I definitely like to be under the roll bar here. The other thing that's kind of shitty is that this is actually touching the fiberglass right now. It's not touching the actual roll bar. Like the roll bar is actually like here-ish, we'll say. So it's closer. I'm still under it, barely. At some point, I might have to just plan on building a full cage and just going from here and tying it into those back there for an overall, a hoop on top. I don't know, but at the moment, I think, yeah, that'll work. So after jumping back out of there, I was like, you know what? We're just gonna test all the things. So got my helmet. I'm gonna throw it on and just jump in there, see what it does. That's the problem, guys. Well, that's a problem. Even with it tilted like really far back, it doesn't clear. That's not good. So I think, yeah, I'm really gonna have to think about just putting a freaking full cage over the top of it. I don't know how else I'd make this work. The other problem is if I put a full cage on here, I don't know if I'd be able to get the body at work off. I don't think I could. That's a problem. I started looking into this fuel cell a little bit more, and basically, so it sits up on the square tubing with these two flanges here, and there's nothing to hold it on this side. And then I was kind of doing some research. There is a forum for these cars. There's not a lot of recent information, but there's some. And it looks like guys are actually welding tabs onto here to hold it to the frame. So that's probably what I'm gonna end up having to do. They kind of like get a tab that kind of goes up in here. So, but I think what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to build out of this steel over here. I'm gonna make the top layer of my floor, because I don't want to just run fiberglass. I want some steel in there so it's stronger and yeah, a little safer. So originally I got a 2x2 and then a 2x3 piece. And originally I was gonna do something a little bit different, but I think what I'm gonna do this time is I'm gonna do this whole section all the way up to there, welded in, and then this side I haven't decided yet. Originally I wanted to do it all the way up to at least where the pedals are, but the piece that I have is actually a little bit too short, so I'm not entirely sure. I might try welding two pieces together, or I don't know, maybe I'll have to get more steel. Man, that's a lot of work. I really need to get a plasma cutter. That would have been so much easier with one of those. Okay, so I have this piece of sheet metal cut to shape, and I've got it all kind of sitting in there with this transmission jack holding it, and then I've got a bunch of magnets around the edges. So what I'm gonna try this time is I'm actually gonna try and heat it up with a propane torch, and then I'm gonna tack it in, because I'm hoping that by heating it up, it'll expand, and then when it cools down, it'll contract, and then it'll keep this piece of metal really tight. I don't know if it's gonna work or not. Never tried it, we'll see. And that was kind of a disaster. So I ran out of oxygen on my acetylene torch. That's why everything's black. It did, yeah, didn't get nearly hot enough. Then it started welding like crap, and I ran out of MIG gas. So I'm batting 1,000 over here. I mean, I got a few tacks in there. They're really shitty looking because there's no gas on them, and I'll probably have to grind some of them back. But I mean, it's tacked in a couple places. So I guess this week I'm gonna have to, yeah, go to the supply store and get all the fucking gases that I need. All right, guys. Well, I got a little bit accomplished today. Still not entirely sure what I'm doing about these seats. Obviously, I got those, pieces of metal welded in there, and that is all lining up, and it was lining up with the sliders, but it's not gonna work out because it's gonna sit up too high. The more I'm measuring, the more I'm just sitting here thinking, I don't think there's any way I can make this clear tech as far as a broomstick test, depending on what I'm trying to do. I mean, realistically, a lot of the shit I'm going to want to do anyway, they probably wouldn't allow a convertible that doesn't have a full roll cage anyway, so I think I'm going to probably have to just put in a main hoop on the top. And whatever I got to do, I mean, I got, this tubing here, if I can go from here and figure out some way to come up to the windshield frame and just kind of, give me a nice smooth transition so it'll, give me headroom so it's not a problem, because without a helmet, I'm underneath, but with the helmet, I am definitely above, so that's a problem. The other thing, I tried measuring like the Kirkies that are in my Exoset, which obviously I'm not going to run Kirkies in this because it would look totally out of place, but I was just checking to see, because those ones sit, pretty low, and I wanted to see if there was any chance of those fitting, and I'm looking at those, and I don't think there's any way, because if you look at the seat that was in here, that fiberglass one, I mean, honestly, the butt portion of it is like pretty much flush with the bottom. Like it does not get any lower than that. It was mostly just the front leg part that's kind of kicked up. So realistically, I don't see the seats getting any lower than this. So the only other option is either, tilting it back a lot or, just build the cage. And as far as tilting it back a lot, I was looking into that. And with these seats, it's not really too much of an option because they're just so wide in the front portion that it's hitting everything. Not to say I couldn't trim and cut and do all that kind of stuff, but I'd rather not as far as that, because I don't want to lose structure in the seats. I mean, yeah, I could cut the interior, but I don't know. We'll see. And, maybe that is something I need to modify. Maybe I need to bring the tunnel in more to clearance that out. I don't know. Obviously, this is an open canvas, so I can do whatever I want, but I'm not planning on running these seats. I'm planning on running something else. So maybe it's something that, I just need to wait until I get good seats, the ones that I actually want to run. So I might have to do some more research and see about that. But yeah, I think for today, that's going to be it. So yeah, like, subscribe, ring the bell, and peace out.